Let's freaking go. What you're looking at right now is the exact reason Lane Kiffin decided to come to the LSU Tigers. We signed not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but six top 125 on three signees today. That is absolutely ridiculous. And as you can see, this is pretty normal. Last year, we only signed four. In 2024, we signed six. In 2023, we signed six. In 2022, we signed five. And all the way back in 2021, we signed 10. But you see here, in 2022, in Brian Kelly's first season, he got five, and Lane Kiffin got six. Now, how much of this is Lane Kiffin? Well, he did need to talk to Lamar Brown. He did need to talk to the other high school football recruits to get them signed on, and he got the job done. That's all that matters. And obviously, you give the LSU recruiting staff a lot of credit. You give the agents that represent the kids a lot of credit for finalizing whatever needed to get finalized here in these final couple of days, because we don't know who the new defensive coordinator will be if Blake Baker does indeed finalize things with Tulane. And we'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. But the big thing was Lamar Brown. This was a very quiet recruitment today when he inserted his papers. Pause. He gave his papers to LSU for him to sign, and, well, it was signed. And we got him, baby. We freaking got him. Lamar Brown to LSU. And then you also got Deuce Geralds and Trenton Henderson today. Those were the final three, and all three of them were top 125 recruits. Now, normally, I will focus just on the top 100. But with the way recruiting rankings work now, it does seem that they have like way too many players of one position. It always seems like they're putting more and more wide receivers in the top 100. But the simple truth is I stretch it out to 125 because I wanted to increase the sample size. And to get six is pretty daggum good. Now, there is a major problem in all of this. We have huge, gigantic holes that we need to fill. And it's not just via the transfer portal. I'm talking about re-recruiting our current roster to help develop those kids to where they can perform at the level that we expect them to perform at. And a good example of this is the running back position. Yes, we will be fine if we can get Caden Durham back, if we can get Harlem Berry back, but it is a little disappointing that you did not get a single running back in the class, and it's probably even more disappointing that you weren't able to get a quarterback in the class, as Landon Duckworth made it official to South Carolina yesterday. So there are some major problems when you look at this class as a whole, and we will do that very thing. The stat that I want to share with you, though, before we get into a full breakdown of this 2025 class, is that in Lane Kiffin's previous 5 seasons, he signed a combined seven top 125 recruits per the On3 composite. And today alone, he got 3, and in total, he got 6. Now, really think about that. Since 2022, he only got 7 total. So if you want to ask why Lane Kiffin took this job, it's because of that. You just don't get that at Ole Miss. You get that at LSU, and that's why Lane took the job. And for our patrons and members, I released a deep dive investigative study for the real reason Lane Kiffin went to LSU, why he chose to come to Baton Rouge. There is one secret individual. No one else has mentioned this guy's name. But if you join our membership, you join our Patreon, you will learn who this guy is. It's a pretty familiar name in the coaching circle, someone that actually is close to Lane Kiffin. The link is down below. Okay, so let's go to Ricky. It's about quality, not quantity. That is particularly true in the transfer portal era. Okay, so you take a look at this overall class for LSU and the 2026 commits. We're going to use 247 here to spread the love. and you'll see all these top 100 kids. Okay, so a little bit different from On 3. If you guys prefer On 3, we can go take a look at that. It's pretty much the same thing. As you can see, there's a little differentiation here where they only have 5 top 125 guys here, but this is their own personal rankings. You can see Lamar Brown, Richard Anderson, Trenton Henderson, and Deuce Geralds. All 4 of them actually signed in the past 48 hours. Richard Anderson said he signed on Wednesday. There was a clerical error, and he ended up getting his paperwork in on Thursday. And as you can see, you do see a lack of offensive talent until you get to Bryson Martinez. And you can make a strong case that Bryson Martinez might be the most important commitment in this crop, because LSU did lose out on an offensive tackle who ended up going to Alabama. And that, to me, was a big, big, big loss, because I do think the single most important position to recruit out of high school is the offensive line position. Corey Barber was the big flip. I went back and forth with some Ole Miss fans that wrongly said Lane didn't do any flipping. He was able to get Corey Barber, who was going to Ole Miss, to come to LSU. Yvonne Finney was also a surprise signature on Wednesday. Shout out to Jeff Martin and the LSU recruiting staff for getting that done. Corey Raymond, most notably. And this is a typical Corey Raymond, long, lanky, fast corner, Yvonne Finney. And then you get to Aiden Hall out of Edna Carr, a guy that I like a lot, of safety. Jabari Mack, who's been committed to LSU for a long time. Texas made a very strong push from the young man out of Destrehan. You also had J.C. Anderson, Des Ellis, Braden Allen, Isaiah Washington, and Ryan Murray. I need to get that pronunciation correct. I love that Ryan's dad tweeted out today how crazy it was that LSU released a billboard with this man's face on it. But as you can see, we're fine at wide receiver. I would have liked to gotten another tight end. I think LSU needs to get 2 tight ends out of the portal. And I'm talking about traditional hand in the dirt, guys that can block tight ends. But, you do see LSU probably would have rathered an extra offensive lineman or 2. They would have loved a quarterback, and they would have loved a running back. So defensively, this class was really good. Something else you did not see, no off-ball linebackers, because LSU brought in 5 out of high school last year. 5 off-ball linebackers. And if you expect Devon Keys to be back, which I do, you feel pretty good about that position, in particular if Whit Weeks decides to come back to LSU. So the rare Friday afternoon, evening live stream, I'm so excited to be in Baton Rouge this weekend, albeit for my aunt's funeral. We might do a PHL get-together here in the last couple of moments. But the simple truth today, to every single one of you watching this stream right now, LSU knocked it out of the park for a transition class. Now, there is more going on into the world of LSU. We did have a new potential LSU coach on campus today, and this is actually a guy that outcoached us as a head coach a few years ago in Baton Rouge. He just ran into Jaden Daniels. We'll tell you all about him here in just a moment. Let's go to Ricky Pope. You have the offense. It's the defense that you need to complement. That's the thing. We do not have the offense complement. Now, before I continue, I want you guys to look up the obituary for my aunt, Jean Butler. She is a Baton Rouge icon. My family is full of people that have actually done miraculous, miracle things. She is a pilot. She got her pilot's license at 90. Now, she didn't actually fly a plane solo, but she was just this incredible person. So I understand, I just get back to LSU, but I had to shout her out. This stream is a dedication to her. I got awesome family members, and I hope all of your family members this holiday season, doesn't matter if you're listening, iTunes, Spotify, or any of that, just enjoy them while they're here. Okay. Let's go to Ricky. What I mean by that is defensive players, because Lane hasn't always had a great defense. You're right about that. And in our Patreon episode, I highly recommend you go listen to it. I highly, highly, highly recommend it, because, look, 2024 was the roster for Lane Kiffin to win the whole thing. And the reason he came to LSU is so he can have more of those 2024 Ole Miss types of rosters. Okay. So there you go. Now, I want to talk about Blake Baker. And before we get into Blake Baker's next role, whether that be at Tulane or whether that be at LSU. We have heard of the Memphis interest. If you're a patron, you would have already known that I was predicting that Memphis was going to swipe in and try and get Blake Baker. It was reported yesterday that Blake Baker is leaning towards taking the Tulane job. My understanding is that he truly is torn. He truly is torn because Blake Baker loves LSU. He just does. But here is something that I think a lot of us need to understand when it comes to LSU. Do we prefer coaches that love LSU? Yes, we do. Okay. But I've brought this up plenty of times with players that I know that have transferred out of LSU that did not want to transfer out of LSU. There are plenty of them that had to leave because of role or because, they weren't good enough or LSU didn't want them anymore or whatever. It does not matter how much you love LSU if you do see yourself in a better position at another school. In other words, everybody is working that we love at LSU, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, it's an assistant, or any of this. It is a business transaction. So it's important to separate the fan aspect of some of these coaches who love LSU, grew up at LSU, had family members that go to LSU, and also understand the business side of it, right? It's very difficult to do that, especially for a school like LSU, where people that go there and coach there really begin to fall in love with the program itself. So understand that leaving LSU is difficult. It is really, really, really difficult for a guy like Blake Baker who just got here. So it's not just money. If he were to take the Memphis job, he's not going to be making as much money as he is at LSU. And it's going to be a harder job whether he goes to Memphis or Tulane. LSU as a defensive coordinator where you don't have to answer to the media. Your job is to mostly coach defense and obviously do some recruiting to the side of it. The LSU defensive coordinator job is something that Blake Baker knows. It is something he has built into a respectable defense over the past couple of seasons. And he knows that he's going to have his staff mostly intact based on some of the, actions of Lane Kiffin. But at the same time, what LSU is doing is they are working the phone lines. They are working different ideas if they were not to get Blake Baker back next year for them to be ready. Now, here is the bottom line as far as Blake Baker's defense is concerned. He was really good this season. He was really, really, really good this season. At the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he was exceptional. And that's actually a blowback on me because I said when he was hired, by year 2, I think our defense is going to be fantastic. And I was right that we were fantastic. I just don't know if Blake Baker was exceptional this year as the LSU defensive coordinator. And the hard thing about that is you can acknowledge that somebody was very, very good at something, but where you get hurt is replacing exceptional. It is so hard to replace exceptional. At LSU, not as hard to replace very good. So here's a good example. It's going to be really hard for us to replace A.J. Halsey and Mansour Delane. So whether or not Blake Baker is retained, those two players, and he is retained by LSU if he chooses to come back, those two players are exceptional. They're exceptional. All right. So it's no matter who the new defensive coordinator is going to be, those two guys made our defense look incredible. There was a lot of instances where other units, other players weren't doing doing their jobs. Those two made us look good. Okay, so keep that in mind. I do think LSU is better equipped for if Blake Baker is to leave LSU. I do think they have some guys lined up that you would like a lot. All right, including, I'll save that for a little bit later. Okay, let's go to Steve. Almost bragging about a 5-star wide receiver when we signed the best defensive line class in program history. Hard for a quarterback to hit a wide receiver when he's lying on his back. And look, congrats to Ole Miss. They had a good class today. They were 24th, I believe, per the On3 composite. That's why Lane left. All right. Let's go to Todd, who says not having Witt for most of the season definitely changed the defense. Yes, you are right about that. You're right. But, it wasn't just that. Okay. I do think, though, we would be better served if Blake Baker is back. I don't think it's happening, though. I really don't. All right. I am leaning towards Blake Baker not being here next year. But I do understand he's very torn, right? I think if he, like a gazillion percent, wanted Tulane, it would already be done. It would already be done at this point. All right. Especially with the James Madison domino that went in favor of Billy Napier going to coach the Dukes. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is that there was a big head coaching hire. Matt Campbell of Iowa State is now going to Penn State. And believe it or not, Penn State actually landed on a guy that is probably best equipped for who they are as a program. I think Penn State views themselves a little bit higher than how I view them. Okay. I don't think that they are a can't miss national championship program. I would put them probably in that 10 to 15 type of range for when you're ranking the national programs. Okay. Now I want to get to this good report here from Matt Moscona. All right. I want to give Matt his due because he was the first to report that he was actually on campus today, and that is Elijah Robinson. Okay. So Elijah Robinson is a very talented coach. So a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, I was at this game. It was a Jaden Daniels Heisman. It was his final game, and it's what locked in the sport's most prestigious award for JD5. And Elijah Robinson came in with a very good game plan. Remember, he was playing with third string quarterback Ethan Henderson. And Elijah Robinson is a guy that is very well respected. He's coached at Texas A&M, and I would not be opposed to Elijah Robinson being LSU's next defensive line coach. As far as Kyle Williams' future at LSU, it's probably not a future. All right. So, and this is what, I said to my Discord a little bit earlier today. Sign up today, patreon.com/LSU football. It is so hard being a high school football coach. It's even harder to be a college football coach. I do think of the three levels, the one that stresses you out the most is the collegiate level because you are getting pulled in so many different directions. And, I think Kyle did a fine job with the defensive tackles this year. But I do think when you look at most of the college football coaches, how many of them were phenomenal players? There's not many. All right. Kyle Williams is one of the few phenomenal college football players that coach. And the reason is Kyle has this thing called money. He's got a hell of a lot of money from playing with the Buffalo Bills for so long. And it's hard as hell to play in the NFL as long as he did. And he was a high school coach with the Ruston Bearcats, and he was really good there. Takes his dream job coaching for LSU, and people like Kyle. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him. But LSU wants Elijah Robinson. There is another coach that they are after, one that I actually spoke to not too long ago randomly. But I will say, as far as Elijah Robinson is concerned, I would love him at LSU. I really, really, really would. Okay. Now let's get to a few more of your comments. I feel like I'm just rambling here, but there is just so much that I have to get to that I've written down here. Once again, if you got to go, I understand it's Friday night and you want to go party. You want to go celebrate this fantastic year one recruiting class for LSU. Marshall Faulk at Southern excites me as well. It excites me a whole heck of a lot. Okay. Let's go to Who Dat Fam. He says Tulane not paying $4 million a year. Summerall, a proven head coach, and he didn't make that much. Let's go to Travis Weber. Just saw where Blake is expected to accept the job and be announced after the game. Very well could be the case. Very, very, very well could be the case. Okay. Let's go to another super. They're flying in today. Thank you so much, Ricky. How is it political about LSU hiring Tulane coach from hiring Blake Baker from LSU? How is that not political? All right. So I'm trying to piece together the super chat because I don't like doing the politics thing, but I think your question is, some said it was political that LSU couldn't go get John Summerall from Tulane. I think that was, a comment made by a few. And I understood that. You get down into the nitty-gritty of, Louisiana law. The LSU school system has a good law school. Tulane has an also prestigious law school where I had a lot of friends graduate from there. So, a lot of lawyers get into government and all of that. And, a lot of these powerful people didn't want LSU taking their very good state school coach to go to LSU. So your question, Ricky, I'm guessing, is how is it not political from the other way around? Okay. I don't think, okay, so there you go. I do think when it comes to college football, people do view LSU as a true have versus the have-nots. So to use another example about where outrage actually lies, why is it that people are outraged over Lane Kiffin not being able to coach Ole Miss in the college football playoff, but they're allowing Charlie Weis to coach in the college football playoff? But nobody's outraged that John Summerall is able to continue coaching at Tulane and still recruit and be the coach at Florida. Why isn't the outrage equal? Well, it's because it's viewed that John Summerall took a clear step up and Lane Kiffin went from SEC school to SEC school. To me, there is no difference. Ultimately, when you lay out the facts, there is no difference other than LSU and Ole Miss being arch rivals. I get that, and they have to play each other every year. But my thing is, once again, I keep going back to this, then you shouldn't allow Charlie Weis back to coach your team. You shouldn't do that. Okay? If that is the main reason, why wouldn't you want Lane to coach whatever? So the reason that you don't have as many people outraged is many will look at LSU losing Blake Baker. He is taking a step down, a program down, even though it is a clear upgrade for Blake Baker being a defensive coordinator at LSU and a head coach at Tulane. I say clear just in job title alone. I don't know how much of an upgrade it is. I don't know. I will tell you this. You go from one elite uniform to another elite uniform. So there you go. Unwritten rule. Basically, they feel the mother school shouldn't poach a head coach from the lower school. Or I think you meant to say the higher school. They feel it should get a big league coach. Yeah, I get that. Okay. So, I think for me, I'm of the viewpoint as far as Blake Baker is concerned. I want him to say. I really do. I'm a fan of him just in general. And, I've never met him. Like I said, I've never talked to him over the phone or anything like that. But the players I speak to just freaking adore this guy. Okay. So coming up next, we're going to take a look at a few potential names. Okay. I don't want to get out in front of this. I really don't. But I want to look at a few potential names that LSU could kick the tires on if they are to have to go get a new defensive coordinator.
Power Hour Network listeners and viewers, you might be consuming this content with that crick in your back that you've been trying to get rid of for so long. Take this as your sign today to book your appointment with LabordTherapy.com. In the Lafayette region, there is no one that you will find that cares more about any different type of pain that you might have than the team at LabordTherapy.com. Book today. Once again, that's LABORDE therapy.com, or you can visit one of their 5 locations all throughout the Lafayette region.
PHL Nation, it's time to lock in and get serious really quickly with our friends at Fortified Gulf Coast and FortifiedGulf.com. This is my buddy Ramey. He is one of many Fortified Gulf Coast inspection professionals that are doing something to help you not only save your home, but your memories.
The Fortified program got started about 13 years ago. We adopted it here in New Orleans about 2.5 years ago. It's a more advanced way of doing the roof. It adds an extra layer of protection, whereas even if a hurricane was to pull the shingles off this roof, water will still not get into the house.
So yes, your establishment is important, but what about the things you can't replace? That family scrapbook or that painting that's been handed down from Meemaw to Papaw and to you. It is important to protect that today with Fortified Roofing. And while this seems like a priceless asset, did you know it can actually save you on your homeowner's insurance up to 37% if you are in South Louisiana? Just call the number 504-444-7563. That's 504-444-7563, or visit FortifiedGulf.com. That's FortifiedGulf.com. Let's go. All righty, so let's go down the list of a few names to keep an eye out for as far as the LSU defensive coordinator search. I really like this follow, Will Rosenblatt. So it's probably Rosenwill on Twitter with the Z. LSU names that he would be after in the defensive coordinator search. Scotty Hazelton of Wake Forest. They were barely a top 100 unit last year. Now the defense ranks top 25. Lane Kiffin's staff at USC featured Hazelton many moons ago. And then he also brought up Corey Batoon, worked with Lane Kiffin at FAU. He took over when Baker left, and the unit didn't miss a beat. He also brought up a name I wouldn't touch, but a name that would be pretty hungry to get back into the SEC and coach. Now, once again, this isn't source or anything like that. He did bring this name up. I couldn't believe it. Jeremy Pruitt. All right, the controversial former Tennessee coach who obviously has been in a major lawsuit world for the last however many years. And welcome to the membership, show enough. Good to see you. It is of my opinion I would not go after Jeremy Pruitt, but it would be kind of cool to see. But look, I will tell you, I do enjoy watching Wake Forest play. I do. Demon Deacons. I can't believe the Los Angeles Clippers are doing what they're doing to Wake Forest's best ever basketball player, the point guard himself, Mr. Chris Paul. I don't want to hear any Tim Duncan mess. CP3 will run circles around the big fundamental. So there you go. Let's go to Big Mill. Coach O should be defensive coordinator at LSU. So you want Coach O to be the defensive coordinator at LSU when he's never been a defensive coordinator. And also a DC where that's not Lane's expertise. Okay. Just not what I would do. My opinion. Okay. So there you go. A few more things here. I want to talk a little about where LSU is right now in terms of the overarching viewpoint of the program. Okay, because the thing is, I could talk forever about this coach, that coach, but y'all, we're in a pretty good spot. Now, it could get ugly if we don't get our portal needs all lined up and ready to go. And I understand there have been some guys that we love, guys like Austin Thomas, that is no longer here. And you could see a parting of ways of a few other very key coaches in the near future. Like you, I was pretty freaking excited to have Kyle Williams back at LSU. All right. It just didn't work out. And that's okay. Those things happen. All right. So we're in a good spot. We really are. We got the number one guy on our board. We might have to replace the defensive coordinator. And that is scary. That is very scary. But at the same time, there was some friction this week. And Lane Kiffin put out the fire. Think about how much of a melt there would have been if Lamar Brown did not sign today and waited until February. A kid in our own backyard. Do you imagine how much negative press that would have been sent in Lane's direction, where many view him more as a football coach and an offensive mastermind and a funny tweeter than they actually view him as a recruiter? And he is better in those aspects than he is at compared to actual high school football recruiting. But he got the job done. There was some real smoke for Deuce Geralds to go to Georgia Tech. And this tends to happen. I do a very positive film review or tweet about a player, and someone that knows that player will reach out and say, hey, we appreciate that. And that did happen. And there was some thoughts as far as Deuce Geralds is concerned. And in his defense, I get it. But he said today, did an Instagram Live and all of that, LSU was his dream school. And then Trenton Henderson, lanky, 6'5", 225 defensive end, 2-point stance, hand in the dirt. I could see both. He signs today as well. Really good day. And if any of them did not sign, that would have been tough for the overall optics of the program. Okay? Now, I will be honest, there were some misses. All right? And that's okay. Those happen. You did have an offensive tackle who flipped to Alabama. The position of need. We need as many offensive linemen as we can get. We also lost Jalen Chapman, who from Louisiana flips to Ole Miss. That was interesting. So it's not just sunshine and rainbows. But on the defensive side of the football, we kicked ass. Offensive side of the football, we need work. A lot of work. But what tends to happen with these recruiting live streams is that we focus too much on the decommitments. And the truth is, for the most part, I would say out of every 4 LSU decommitments that have happened, one of them really ends up hurting you. So it's a 25% chance that that player ends up really kicking your ass, right? So think Patrick Surtain, even though he's never committed to LSU, you guys know the story there. And think Tim, the defensive end from U High, Tim Williams, he went to Alabama. You know, there's plenty of those kinds of stories we can go to where we missed this guy and it would have been really nice to have him. But overall, they sometimes, and a lot of the times, they do not bite you in the rear end. They just don't. Okay? Oh, don't put this on him, Some guy 99.81. Henderson has an Arden Key build. I do think when it's all said and done, and people that have a third eye, like I do, right here, you'll know that Arden Key is probably the most underrated LSU defensive player of the past 2 decades. Probably. I mean, there's quite a few. I mean, Brandon Taylor's one that comes to mind, but of the elites, I do think Arden Key is definitely one of the ones that will, when we look back, we'll be like, holy crap, man, we freaking got so lucky that we landed him. And that was a Coach O special. It's definitely one of the 4 or 5 Coach O things that was mostly Coach O getting the job done there. So, big news. Lane Kiffin will be on College Game Day tomorrow. And you better believe my ass will be watching. And Lane, you know I love you. You know I love you. You are my number one guy. Lane, you have an invite anytime to come hang out here on PHO. You know this, Lane Train. You know it. But I hate to say this to Lane because I know he's watching right now. And he knows that I was a fan of his even at Ole Miss. And it hurt me to say that so many times on live streams here at LSU. But Lane Kiffin is not the most important guest on College Game Day because I got so freaking hype that College Game Day announced that the guest picker is arguably the best to ever hold the microphone. Ernie Johnson is the guest picker tomorrow for College Game Day. And Lane Kiffin, you are awesome, bro. You are so awesome. But Ernie, you cannot beat Ernie Johnson. But I am really excited. Lane Kiffin, the exclusive live interview. And you already know what the tinfoil hatters are saying about, Lane Kiffin tomorrow. Oh, this is all a part of the CAA machine. This is all a part of the Jimmy Sexton machine. Everybody on College Game Day is repped by CAA. And you know what I got to say about that? In the words of Pat McAfee, that is a bunch of dookie. It's a bunch of dookie. Shiite. Anything you want to say. The man went to LSU. Nick Saban told him to go to LSU. Get over yourselves. It's a better job. It's okay to admit it. It's not some grand conspiracy. And the one thing that people kept pushing back on, this grand conspiracy of Saban and everybody there, CAA, all that shit, you know what they kept saying? They kept saying the stupid freaking obvious about the only sport in America that has this problem. The college football calendar sucks. That's all Nick Saban kept saying. College football calendar sucks. If you can't admit that the college football calendar sucks, you don't deserve to cover the sport. It sucks. It put Lane in a bad position. All right, I'm not going to cry for Lane as a victim. He makes plenty of money. He's lived a great life. He's not even asking to be the victim. But the man wanted to make a move that in every other sport, he would be afforded the luxury to do so while being able to coach his team till the end of the playoff. This is the only one. Think about Pee Wee. Think about high school. Think about middle school. Think about professional. Think about all the sports. Quidditch, baseball, basketball, football, all these different sports. Croquet, they let you finish the season, and then you could go coach another team. But no. With Lane, it's a problem. It's a problem. It is a problem. And it's all a grand conspiracy. I'm so sick of these media members saying this shit over and over. It's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. The man just wanted to go to LSU. He wanted to go to LSU in 2021. He wanted to go there. This man obviously wants to be here. Any competitive person would have wanted to coach that playoff. But no, Ole Miss, they're pissed. They don't understand that this might be the only time that they have a chance to win a national championship. And they said, no, we're not going to do it. The man that made us nationally relevant. And now people are pissed that College Game Day has given him a microphone. No crap. It's the biggest story in the sport. It's the biggest story. No one's talking about Georgia, Alabama, part 76. There will be another Star Wars spinoff before kickoff tomorrow. I'm sick of it. Sick of it. Oh, my God, I'm so sick of it. It's not some grand conspiracy, okay? Boo-hoo. The same agents run all sports in the NBA. It's Rich Paul, who has a podcast coming out with The Ringer. I actually going to listen to it. It probably sounds pretty good with Max Kellerman. It's not it's every single sport. A few agents run the sport. God, I'm so sick of it. I'm so freaking sick of it. James Franklin went on College Game Day, and there wasn't near the uproar. And that guy sucked. He sucked. Got fired. And people were mad that James Franklin, a fired coach, was on game day. A fired coach. I mean, my goodness gracious. I get it. I get it. People are mad that the little guy lost out. The little guy, Ole Miss. They're in the playoff. They kicked their ass this year. They'll be okay. God, dude, I was just so sick of all these freaking people bitching about Lane being on. It's Lane Kiffin. It's Lane Kiffin. They were talking about him on CNN. CNN. It's the biggest story. Of course they're going to have him on. And of course we want him on there. And who better to break down this game? Okay, who better? I'll clip this. Y'all don't have to bother clipping it. Y'all could clip it, tag whoever you want in there. So sick of it. CIA this, CIA that. They're just mad that they aren't represented by him either. They're sure as hell not going to represent me. I'm not big enough. I'm not big enough. Well, hopefully one day CIA comes knocking at my door. I need to coach, though. I don't know if they do media. Oh, my God. Let's go to Chooch, 44. Damn, just noticed Notre Dame is number 2 in recruiting. Interesting how once Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame and LSU kick it up a notch. All right. It's time for us to all look at ourselves in the mirror. In the same way we own Oklahoma outside of a coverage bust to Isaiah Satania. Because if Oklahoma had lost that game, they would have had to end their program. Notre Dame owns us. They just do. It's okay. And it's like that at some schools. Some schools just own us. We lost to them twice in bowl games. We lost out on Marcus Freeman as a defensive coordinator. We took Brian Kelly, who stunk, and Marcus Freeman, who didn't come be the defensive coordinator at LSU. Got the good fortune of being the head coach at Notre Dame. And he's just good. I mean, there's just no other way around it. He is truly a special coach. He is elite. All right. Once again, I'm not high enough on the totem pole, but I did hear from a good old birdie that LSU was willing to try and go after Marcus Freeman. There are some people in life that just have it. All right. The only thing we have beaten Marcus Freeman in is the 2007 National Championship game. That's it, where he was a linebacker for Ohio State. This dude has it all. He is ridiculously good looking. Holy crap. If my wife says it again, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But the guy just flat out looks good. Holy shite. And that's no pause, none of that. Dude is just a handsome individual. Number 2 recruiting class, 27 signatures, no decommitments to Notre Dame. You would think that some kid who is signing from the state of Georgia or South Carolina or wherever, where it's warm, going to South Bend, where it's cold and rainy and bad. It sucks. It sucks. No decommitments. The dude is just great. He's just great. He's so great. Like, there's just no other way around it. And Notre Dame fans were right. They were right. I hate to admit it. They were so freaking right about everything. About Brian Kelly, all this stuff. The only thing that LSU won any arguments on is the Northern Illinois and Marshall losses. Those are the only things we could really point to. Marcus Freeman's really good. He's just really freaking good. So this will be the last I will talk about this and admit it publicly. I wasn't like the most vocal like hater of Marcus Freeman or anything like that, even though he left us at the altar for the defensive coordinator job. The guy's just won in life. Okay. Let's go to Ricky. Haters, you make graveyards envious. Open your closet. You got more skeletons in a graveyard. Okay. Now, Fred says Notre Dame doesn't want the SEC smoke, which lends us into our next topic. Okay. And I promise we can get back into LSU recruiting. I've already said my piece. If you want to listen to my breakdown of the overall class, you can rewind it. But I do want to play this clip. And I don't like playing clips from other shows because it can get demonetized, if you will. So David Pollock, please do not take my channel down. You're always welcome to come on here. But he did have a guest who is someone that would know the answer to this question between competition, between the Big Ten and the SEC. Okay, and I want you to listen very closely to Caleb Downs. Holy crap. This young man is a special football player. He is as good, maybe better than any safety we've ever had at LSU, and that is saying something. That's how good Caleb Downs is at football. Okay? Now, if you've not heard this clip yet, and you're like me, and you love the SEC, you're going to want to listen to this on repeat. So before you get the lotion bottle out, and before you start going crazy about the SEC is better than the Big Ten, I'm going to respond to this in a way that you're probably not going to like. But I want you to hear from Caleb Downs.
One of the big things that we hear about all the time is SEC, Big Ten. Well, you played in both. Like, I think you have as good a perspective as anybody else to talk about both leagues. Like, is there a difference to you, or is it pretty much the same? Football is the same.
I would definitely say, like, SEC, you're playing every week, and you're playing like big comp every week. So that was something when I was at Alabama. It was every week playing. Okay, Tennessee this week, got LSU next week, then we got Auburn. You're playing dudes every week, and that's something that you have to prepare your body for, prepare your mind for. I would say Big Ten, you're gonna have 4 or 5 games maybe where you're gonna have to play like high level competition and really be able to be at your highest point. So that's a difference. But then again, I said that when I first got to Ohio State, and then a lot of the teams that were in the Big Ten, when it came to like bowl games, they ended up beating the SEC team. So
So I'll break down who Caleb Downs is. First year, he's a true freshman safety. He was a top 10 national recruit, and he led Alabama to the college football playoff. Saban retires, and he transfers to Ohio State, and he's been the best safety in college football since he's been there. So he has 2 years of Big Ten experience, and he has a year of SEC experience, and he waxed poetic, but he then came around and said, you know, the point that the Big Ten has had some success versus the SEC in the playoff. And obviously, he's most notably talking about them putting Tennessee in a body bag last year in Columbus. And that was one of the worst beatdowns you'll see. And he's right. All right, he's right. The SEC week to week is just so much better. The recruiting's better. The talent's better. Just everything's better. Now, is it infinitely better than the Big Ten? It's not. It's not. You know, Penn State every year produces so many great defensive players. as many as most of the elite SEC schools. Same thing with Ohio State, same thing with Michigan, so on and so on. But you also have Oregon, you also have USC, great programs, okay? But the SEC is better. That's basically what he said. The SEC is better. And it's okay to admit that, but also not just totally belittle the Big Ten experience. Now, this is where the SEC versus Big Ten situation gets a little wiry, if you will. All right. It's this idea that the SEC was wrong to go to a 9-game conference schedule when the Big Ten was at 9, and they kind of bullied, quote unquote, the SEC into going into a 9-game conference schedule. So we are 6 days away from the SEC announcing their new schedule. And we know who we're playing. We just don't know when we play them. And yes, it is true that an 8-game SEC conference schedule is tougher than a 9-game Big Ten schedule. So what does that make a 9-game SEC schedule compared to a 9-game Big Ten schedule? It is tougher. I'd be the first to admit it. But it doesn't take away the simple fact that the SEC going to a 9-game conference schedule is better for the overall sport, considering I want more high-profile SEC games from a week-to-week basis. I'm not just saying that as a media content creator. I don't make an infinite amount of more money because there's an extra great SEC game. But I say that just as a fan of the sport. And the truth is, we tend as fans to not hit home where the root of the problem actually is with college football. And that is the actual structure of the conferences. You cannot get over that these conferences are too damn big. And where the SEC is actually going to be ahead of the Big Ten, and where they're actually going to be ahead of the ACC included, is these conferences are bigger than what they are in the SEC. And the ACC is an absolute cluster, you know what, because they don't play each other enough. It's the big debate going on between Miami and Duke. They only had 2 common opponents this year. Where with the 9-game conference schedule, you're going to have more common overlap. You're going to have more equity in the actual schedule itself. Where the inequity comes in is you compare the SEC to that of the Big Ten. I will say, though, if you are one of those people that says, hey, we should have stayed at 8, that's the clip you should use. All right, there is no person that is more qualified to speak on that, maybe outside of Urban Meyer, but he's not coaching forever. Caleb Downs is the single most qualified person that is on this earth right now to speak on that. And I give David Pollack a lot of credit for actually asking the question, right? And that's not really Pollack's thing. He's an analyst. That was a really good question. Put the feet to the fire of the man that actually knows. Caleb Downs told you what everyone already expected. Now, is his word law? No. Did he belittle the Big Ten? No. Okay? I went to grad school at Northwestern. Big Ten is no SEC. Emma Cat says Delane is better than Downs. Yeah, well, it's a Thorpe season, so I'm going to say yes. It's close. I mean, they're 2 different positions. I mean, there should be a Thorpe to the safety, and there should be a Thorpe to a corner. I just think it's stupid to give out a Thorpe to one position group when they have little to no overlap. All right. And I say that. I mean, they have a decent amount of overlap, especially if you play inverted cover 2, they switch, but whatever. They kind of switch in that. Why is Lane? I don't know. A lot of you don't like this backdrop of Lane. I've had a few comments saying, I don't like Lane and his face. You prefer the Tiger Stadium backdrop. Let's change it up. Want the Jaden Daniels backdrop? Jaden Daniels sports card. One of one. This one I use for my sports card show. Go. Now we'll go back to the OG PHL green screen backdrop. Nah, Biggie got me on a pause. Look, I can't, dude. I cannot deny Marcus Freeman is a handsome individual. Okay, like it's like when women say Sydney Sweeney's pretty. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that any woman that says that automatically is, I only like to scissor other people. I don't think that. You know, you're just. Here's P. Mike. This is my former roommate right here. Ask him if I need a pause moment. Great coverage, sir. We really need a quarterback. MVP might develop under Kiffin. God bless the CA. Oh, man. Let's go to Sibley. I didn't mean to overskip your super chat. I believe that the decommits were told by Lane that the Tigers did not think they were LSU material. What do you think? Yeah, so there's going to be quite a few people angry with the Kenneth Darby situation. Okay. And I get it. I get it. That's an in-state wide receiver. And, well, these things happen. You know, Lane wants one of his guys in, Kenny Darby, today out of North Louisiana. Airline stand up. Decides to go to Joe Sloan. 4-star receiver. And, yeah, I mean, Kenny Darby's a really talented guy. Has a good relationship with Peyton Houston. Had an offer from Alabama, had an offer from Florida State. But here's the truth about wide receiver play at LSU. Sometimes you wonder, does LSU take in too many high school wide receivers? Okay, because I doubt LSU is not going to get some wide receiver out of the portal. Because there's just so many guys leaving. All right, so you lost Billy Ott, you lost Watkins, and then, of course, Aaron's probably gone. Nick's probably gone. Barryon's gone. Chris is gone. And now you really need to replenish. But even then, it is important to understand with wide receiver play, there are 2 hurdles that need to be cleared for a wide receiver to be content with their situation at a school. Number 1, are they playing? And number 2, are they being fed? Okay. An offensive lineman's goal at any school is just to play. That's it. Same thing for mostly tight ends. Running backs, there's only one on the field. So if you're going to get the ball, you're going to get the ball if that's the play call, as far as a handoff is concerned. Defenders just want to play. Now, obviously, there are some system requirements that some defensive players have, but most defenders just want playing time. Rarely do you see a corner complaining, hey, they aren't throwing my way, because there's nothing you can do about that. But wide receivers, you got to clear 2 hurdles. They've got to play, and they've got to be fed. And that's hard. That's a really hard thing to manage. And it's different in college because in high school, your wide receiver rooms are thinner. If you're the dude, you're going to play every snap. In the NFL, it's the same thing. There's only so much money to go around. Your wide receiver depth chart is normally 5 guys. If you're CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, you're going to play. If you're T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, you're not going to have a Cortez Hankton type of rotation with those two. But in college, you could stockpile as many of these guys as you want. And that's where receiver rooms get bloated, and that's where receiver coaches make the wrong decision of playing too many. Okay? Well, it's a wild statement. I don't care. I can get a little wild on here. It's okay. It's Friday, man. It's a rare Friday stream. We can get a little frisky. Okay. Now, I would be a bad LSU fan if I didn't shout out Big Foe. Let's go, ladies. We get the job done in Cameron Indoor last night. Look at that. Look at that. The only thing that would have been better is if Louisville would have hit that 3 to upset South Carolina yesterday. But proud of the Lady Tigers getting the job done on the road in Cameron Indoor. I wasn't able to watch. I was judging a Christmas parade last night. And boy, oh boy, it really was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But I froze my you-know-what off. And if you're a guy, you know when that freezes off, life isn't great. Now, it doesn't really freeze off, but it changes. And it doesn't feel great. It just does not feel great. You're just like, I don't know. I don't know. Am I gone? Am I gone? I did feel like my feet were frozen off, dude. I really, 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 really felt like my feet were frozen off. Jordan actually called me like right at the end of it. I was like, dude, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with my feet? God bless America. And it's funny. It was a fundraiser. And so it was like, I did it for free. It wasn't like any money or anything like that, just giving back to the community. And I'm DJing a Christmas party tomorrow night. And the lady who runs the corporation that booked me for the Christmas party was one of the judges. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. And her husband's great. It's a I don't know what they do, but they make a lot of money. And it's crazy, like when you are around actual money, like money, like these football coaches make a lot of money, but when you're around actual money, the ones that actually pay the buyouts, it's crazy. They were saying, well, I can't say what they said because they got some big things coming. When they threw a number around that included the letter B, I was like, damn. You could buy me 50 times over. But I am excited. I am excited to DJ their party. Like, we're ready for you to turn this thing on up. And I was like, say less. Say less. Let's go to Jack with the super chat. Appreciate you. Brandon says, like coming out of a cold pool. I do highly recommend, though, you do the cold plunge or you take cold showers. I love doing it. Okay. Let's go to Jack Super Chat. Who do I like for the defensive coordinator to replace Blake Baker? Well, we mentioned a few names a little bit earlier, and let's put those back up here. Scotty Hazelton of Wake Forest. I really loved watching Wake Forest play. We can get into the ACC all we want and how weird the ACC was. And Corey Batoon, Will Rosenblatt, who's an LSU fan that's also an actual football coach. Corey Batoon at Missouri. Okay. Now, I want to give one name here that I personally would kick the tires on. If Lane came to me and said, Carter, what would you do? Sheil Wood's interesting. Okay. Has no SEC experience, but I love watching Texas Tech's defense operate. Now, my only problem, and I would need to watch them even more than what I have this year, is their defensive line is so much better than the competition that they played this year. It's kind of hard to say how good of a defensive coordinator you are, okay? But they have the best defensive line in college football, and I don't know if it's close, okay? Now, I will say, one guy who I think is low-key elite at calling plays, but he will never get a head coaching job, is Kendall Briles. And South Carolina is leaning in that direction right now, per sources. Okay? Which is interesting. Let me go to this right here. This is a name that's being tossed around a lot, and this is where you can kind of run into trouble. Let's go to Toledo, to Vince Cares. Don't know how to say his last name. Okay, they are arguably the defense in college football this year. Okay, so Vince, it's his MAC competition. And as you can see, he's been with Toledo since 2020. All right, so I wouldn't go in this direction, but I do love a grinder. And this is a guy who was at Mount Union, worked his way all the way to head coach, and then left to become a DC. Very interesting. So he has grinded his ass off to get to where he is right now. Right? It's a pretty big jump up. So the first thing I do when I start looking at defensive coordinator candidates is just start very simple. Who are the best defensive minds out there in terms of yards per play? And could there be a world where we go get that person? Okay. So Toledo, that's part of it. Sheil Wood, that's part of it. Okay, they're number 2 and number 3 in yards per play. Then you get down, obviously, to Missouri, who we mentioned a minute ago, Batoon, 4.59 yards per play. Okay, so let's go back to 2023, and let's see where Missouri was ranked then. And 5.28. So you can see he's doing a better job at Missouri in terms of yards per play than what Blake Baker did in his final season at Missouri. Okay. The only difference is Blake Baker had to go up against Jaden Daniels that year. So, you know, you do factor that in. It's not that much better. Now, what I would be interested in, and this would be a pretty radical move, and I've thought about this, okay? Like, I've really thought about it because this is a very irresponsible opinion. Number one, it's going to piss some people off. And then number two, it's going to get you guys way too excited. One thing about Lane Kiffin is he is really good at convincing people to make lateral moves, all right? Moves that just simply do not make sense. He's really good at that when it comes to positions that truly does matter. All right. So, I talked about Lane's recruitment of Spencer Sanders, right? He goes get Spencer Sanders. He is a 4-year starter at Oklahoma State, literally played every snap there. And he transfers in with Jackson Dart to be a backup. Did the same with Walker Howard. Transfer in, you're a backup. Did this with Trinidad Chambliss. Transfer in, you're a backup. Chambliss took $500K to be at Ole Miss per CBS Sports instead of $300K at Temple, where he for sure was going to play. So if you're in Trinidad's shoes, when Austin Simmons was clearly the guy, would you have taken an extra $200K to play in the SEC, but know that the likelihood of you playing isn't really as high as what it ended up being? Or would you take $300K, where even if you sucked at Temple, you know you were going to play the whole season because they gave you so much money? That was a great job by Lane recruiting Trinidad Chambliss to the system. Same thing with Luke Haas, the tight end. They already had a good tight end. They bring in Luke Haas, one of the best tight ends in the transfer portal. We were after Luke Haas as well. Haas hadn't played much. Lane is really, really, really good at convincing guys to come over into difficult situations. But the best thing Lane did was hire the guy that is currently the head coach at Ole Miss. All right. And because this man has said some really nasty things about Lane, probably behind closed doors, not going to mention his name. But he was also the same guy that thought playing two-man under the entire game-winning drive versus Garrett Nussmeier was a smart thing to do. But that's not here nor there. But I don't think Lane has any ill will. Because, by the way, Lane Kiffin, his playoff bonuses are being paid by LSU. So he's cheering for this man. Okay? I'll say his name is Pete Golding. I have no ill will towards Pete. I hope he does well at Ole Miss. Kidding. Go to hell, Ole Miss. But that's not here nor there. So if Lane is really good at this, let's go big game hunting. We've already defied all logic hiring Lane Kiffin. Why not go get Glenn Schumann? Why not? Kick the tires on it. Carter, come on. That's just stupid. Glenn Schumann? Really? Glenn Schumann? Glenn Schumann? Glenn Schumann? Who's with Kirby Smart at Georgia? You think Glenn Schumann is interested in coming to Baton Rouge, Louisiana? Well, if you'd have told me, hey, Pete Golding, you're really going to leave Nick Saban to go join Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, a step down? You're telling me the Lane train can't get it done with old Glenny? Maybe Glenn Schumann wants to run his own thing. Well, that's what he's doing at Georgia, right? But he's with the defensive-minded coach in Kirby Smart. He could have even more power at LSU. Glenn Schumann could go to another place, prove himself, and Glenn could look at this and say, hey, if I do a good enough job and I know my coach in Lane Kiffin could bounce in 2 years, maybe I walk into the LSU job the same way that Marcus Freeman walked into the Notre Dame job. So if I'm Lane, why not go for broke? Go for it all. We got money. We got money. Okay? Now, if you're a patron and if you're a member, you've already known my super episode. And a lot of it had to deal with old Kirby Smart. Okay? I'm telling you right now, even though Lane and Kirby were on the same staff, under Nick Saban, I guarantee you Lane does not like Kirby Smart's guts right now. Because Kirby is that mother effer. He is a guy that's going to be nearly impossible for us to beat. He's that good of a coach. He is the best coach in college football. There is nobody close to Kirby. Nobody. Not Ryan Day, not Marcus Freeman, not Dan Lanning. Nobody's touching Kirby right now. Nobody. So why not weaken that mother effer? Okay. Go big, big, big game hunting. Okay. Let's go to Roby. The defensive line recruits we got, can you compare them to any players we had before? And maybe do a film study. Thank you for your hard work. Yeah, let's do it. So let's give some comps. I mean, that's a fun part about it. Sometimes it's irresponsible. A lot of players don't like comps. If you're a sports card guy, you don't like comps. That's a different kind of comp, though. Start with Lamar Brown, 6'4", 285. And obviously, this is kind of a tweener defensive tackle, defensive end type. So, you know, to me, Lamar Brown's floor is someone like Damian Square at Alabama, right? Really good 4-eye, 5 technique, who is just going to be a very good player. And then obviously his ceiling, what would be a good way to describe his ceiling? I mean, could he be Walter Nolan level good? Walter was a little bit more of a traditional DT in terms of his build. Just trying to think of guys in that same body type, because it's not like, I don't think you could say Myles Garrett, because that's not, Garrett was just more of a pure end type. Let's see what the 247 comp is. They normally give one. I didn't give one. And I've watched a lot of him. Why not? Let's do Cam Jordan. Why not? Cam was a little bit of a thicker player, but I think Cam Jordan is a fine one. Hopefully he's Aaron Donald. Hell. Richard Anderson, 6'4", 340. Obviously, you're not going to want him at 340. Depends on what kind of defense you want to run, though. Let's just say we magically hire someone that wants to run a 3-3-5 stack, then, or if you want to run the Aranda 3-4 tight with the Ted Washington, Vince Wilfork type, then yeah, 6'4", 340 is fine. But obviously, you're looking at him as a traditional nose gap eater. I'm not watching as much Richard as I have Lamar, full stop. But 6'4", 340. Obviously, the lazy one would be like Tyler Shelvin, but I do think Richard Anderson has more motor and more explosiveness, big playability to him. And I think Vita Vea is like just the perfect case scenario. So let's just go for the fences. Let's just say Vita Vea. I've not watched Lamar. I mean, I've not watched Richard enough. And full stop, I do my own grades on every player, but I normally don't do it until the summertime, because I used to do so much more recruit watching evaluation. Now I'll just watch their highlight tape once and come back to it later. Okay. Let's go to Deuce Geralds, are the ones that signed today. Or you just said in general, Trenton Henderson, I've not watched him really at all. I am glad he's here, though. I say that. No, we did a video on him. I've not watched him in a while, though, and I've not watched his senior tape. But Deuce Geralds is definitely my favorite. Even though he's the lowest rated defensive lineman of these. He plays running back. He is extremely explosive. Extremely. And he is far more productive than any of the other three. So in terms of his numbers and what he does every high school game, he is an absolute menace. So obviously, if you were to give him the comp, he's 6'2", 275. So physically, of the four, he's probably the least desirable just based on their actual metrics, arm length, all that crap. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. They said the same thing about, I said they. We've had a guest on in the past who actually docked Will Campbell for his arm length, and arm length does matter. Okay? They said size doesn't matter. Arm length doesn't matter. But it would not shock me if Deuce Geralds is the best football player in this entire class. I think there is a scenario where he is just so ungodly good. I'm serious. Like when I watch him, I get excited. You just don't see what this man can do. And I will also say, and I tweeted this and I say this from the bottom of my heart, I felt watching him the same way I felt at times watching Whit Weeks' high school tape, where it's like, this dude is doing so much different shit on the football field where you just have to say, hey, the other guys might be better defensive linemen than Deuce Geralds is at defensive line, but you have got to truly be a special athlete to do some of the things that Deuce Geralds is able to do. Okay. So, and it might not even be just athleticism. It could just be actual skill, right? Like, normally with defensive line, you think of athletic traits. You got to have them, right? Trust me, I was a defensive lineman that had no athletic traits. I just had skill. I just had pass rush moves. That's it. And I wasn't really that great, but I generated pressure and got to the quarterback. Not at a high level. But no, he's not a linebacker. No. So the thing about Geralds, where it gets tricky, is he needs to be a 3-technique defensive tackle, which is the outside shoulder of the guard. Now, I will say he is a thicker guy, so he could play bigger, okay? So a guy that was kind of like this, let me pull up his high school measurements. And he filled out and actually got bigger. And this is where, like, more research is important because I value age a little bit more than others. Okay. And this guy is just a better overall athlete in terms of like his raw measurements. But Devon Gotcha, all right, 6'4", 265. He put on weight, started all 3 years, and obviously he's still in the league. And there were different players. I don't think Gotcha is as explosive as Geralds is, but Deuce Geralds is 6'2", 275. So Geralds in high school weighed more than Gotcha did, and you see that they viewed him as a strong defensive end, being a D tackle and added the proper weight. So, and Gotcha was not the highest rated guy. He was a middle tier 4-star, so kind of the same rating, like 100 spots lower than that of Geralds. Okay. I would love to be the next defensive line coach at LSU, but I wouldn't be bold enough to say, hey, I need to be the next defensive line coach at LSU. I don't want to work my way up. I don't want to be an assistant. It's official, dude. Matt Campbell to Penn State. Iowa State's already made it higher. I would guess if they've made a hire. Normally I'll get these texts and it's like right when the national guys are reporting it as well. No. Jimmy Rogers. Who is at Washington State. Crazy. So Football Scoop, who is really plugged in, they keep tweeting this out, that this is an agonizing decision by Blake Baker. It is weird. It is a weird spot for Blake Baker to be in. It really is. Okay. Yeah, we talked about him a little bit earlier. I just don't know what I would do if I was Blake. I'm serious. Like, I just do not know what I would do. Here we go. Let's go to Lane Kiffin's latest tweets. There we go. I'm just showing them to you. It's basically everything that we talked about. This was funny. As my dad always said, son, it always starts with the D-line up front. ESPN Booger, who obviously played for the Buccaneers. Warren Sapp, who also played for the Buccaneers. Look at this. The best defensive line class in the history of LSU football. Is it? I mean, how many times has LSU brought in top 100 defensive linemen? I don't know. I do not know. This is your full class right here. Look at God. Huh? 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 Look at him. That's funny. Oh, boy. Last LSU defensive coordinator promotion went to Baylor. Tulane head coach got Florida. I don't think it's as easy as you're laying that out, though, if we're being honest. God, that is so interesting. kind of want to stay live until Blake Baker makes this decision. It feels, just based on what I'm hearing, that something is going to be decided while we are live. Yeah. So one thing I do want to clear up as far as this Elijah Robinson story is the mold of a lot of defensive coaching staffs is one guy coaches the DTs, another guy coaches the ends. So Elijah Robinson met with LSU today. You should feel pretty good about it. He's been at Syracuse, where he was the defensive coordinator. So was he actually calling the plays, or was it framed? I don't know. But what I would say, though, I wouldn't call him the defensive line coach. I think they will go in a direction at defensive ends. I think they'll go in a different direction as far as having both of them. And the thing is, you're wanting to keep Kevin Peoples. So if Blake Baker goes to Tulane, Kevin Peoples is probably getting the defensive coordinator job there. Let's go to Dwight. I skipped the first super chat about the quarterback situation. Okay. That's my fault. Okay. Oh, okay. And Dwight, thank you for your generosity again. All right. I really do appreciate it. And if I don't answer this, I'll send you the extra 5 back that you sent me. Haven or Houston at quarterback, who would be better for the program's future? All right. So I found a few things interesting as far as Peyton Houston is concerned. I'm a big believer in actions, all right? And it seems by Peyton Houston's actions that he is a little bit more gung-ho about coming to LSU. He is a little bit more in that direction. And some of this is just reading tweets. For me, some of this is, just what I've heard as far as Houston versus Haven. And Peyton Houston tweeted out, hey, Ole Miss was the first program to offer me. He also commits to LSU in, I wouldn't say a rushed fashion, but you got to remember that 2027 class at Colton Nussmeier in it, Garrett's brother. And Sloan had a good relationship with that. And obviously Sloan took Houston's commitment for 2027. And then, we take Houston's commitment with Haven in our own backyard. And LSU is interested in Haven. He is. But this is where the star rating system can fool you. Is that, yes, when you do a consensus rankings, which is the most accurate rankings, whether you're looking at the 247 consensus or the On3 consensus, Haven is the better prospect. He is. But when you look at On3's ratings, I don't know if they've done an update, they're the same prospect. One is the 98th overall quarterback and one is the 99th overall quarterback. And the difference is that 247 and ESPN view Haven as can't miss 5-star, and On3 doesn't, where Peyton Houston is just more of like a top 100 4-star across the board. So I found that to be interesting. But Peyton Houston commits. He stays committed even during the coaching transition. And he has done a lot of recruiting for LSU. A lot. Public and private. So he's done, obviously, the tweets with Lamar Brown and stuff like that. But you get into the long-term future, and then and this is where you get into the projection versus who is the actual better player. So the big difference between Haven and Houston is Haven is 6'4" and Houston is 5'11". And quarterback at the NFL level has been more of a big man's game. And this is where understanding the ranking system and how it works is very important. And this kind of gets into some of the Jamarcus Russell arguments that I've had with LSU fans is, yeah, he was a disaster of an NFL quarterback, but I don't care because at LSU, he was phenomenal. Okay. And this is one thing you got to keep in mind with the 247 rankings. They are doing their rankings based on how they feel NFL teams will draft those players, which is weird because you would think that the ranking system would be, we're ranking the best college prospects. No, they do it based on who is the better NFL draft prospect. So if you have similar speed, which the two of them have, and you have Haven, who's got an absolute cannon, and Houston's got good arm strength, and Haven is 6'4", and Houston is 5'11", 6 foot. If you're doing this on an NFL scale, and you know the NFL does factor in that 6'3", 6'4" kind of prototype, that's going to give Haven a higher ranking. But that's where things get weird, is that for me, I am looking for the best college football quarterback. That is what I'm looking for. Diego Pavio won't do anything in the NFL. But for a college quarterback, there's no one in the SEC right now you're wanting more than him. Okay? If I was an NFL team, I'm taking Ty Simpson probably every day. So I'm looking for the better college quarterback. And one thing that has been somewhat predictive of LSU quarterback success, and I don't have the time to do it for all the other teams because it really did take a lot of research. I have a database of all the LSU high school stats of every single quarterback that's come through in the last 20 years. All I got to say is Peyton Houston is destroying all of them when it comes to just raw statistics. All of them. To the point where Peyton Houston, his sophomore high school season, I'm not talking about the season that just got done where he was amazing. His sophomore season, there is only one LSU quarterback that had a better senior high school season than Peyton Houston. And he just won a Heisman Trophy. And that's Jaden Daniels. So Haven just does not produce at the same level as Peyton Houston. And honestly, most of the elite quarterbacks just do not produce at that same level. Here's a good example. If you are a big fan of mine, I think you would find this interesting if you like to do high school quarterback projections, which is probably the hardest. It is the hardest position to project. You can make a case. Corner is tough, but you can make a case at a lot of different positions. I just did a breakdown of Jared Curtis, who is the can't-miss 5-star quarterback who, ironically, just flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt. Okay? And Jared Curtis is a fun player to watch. Fun. He's got a better arm than both of these guys. He's got a quicker release than both of these guys. He can run. He is a powerful runner. He's got some wiggle, has a few 100-yard games. And Vanderbilt got themselves a good one. But his high school stats just do not touch Peyton Houston's. It's not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. And there's something to be said about him doing this at Evangel where, the competition's good. We can get into, it's high school and game script and all of that. But when it comes to actually playing the high school quarterback position, Peyton Houston is as good as it gets. It's just that simple. Anyone that you can go and watch the games yourself. I've not watched so much of his junior stuff. I'm going to be straight up. I've watched a lot of his sophomore stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay. But I'm also one of those guys where, if Lane wants to go in a different direction, I get it. Okay. As Carvis points out, and to a lesser extent, it's kind of the Deuce Geralds conversation we just had. It honestly is. Deuce Geralds produce at an extremely high level for a high school defensive lineman. It's as good of a production profile as you possibly can have. And he played running back. Okay. He's not the same physical traits guy as a Lamar Brown. It's kind of the same thing here with Haven and in Houston. It's not quite the same, but you could see the parallels there, right? Okay. And once again, that's also not really a knock on Haven. It's really not. It's honestly not. Okay. The latest on Blake Baker. Well, I'm waiting. Okay. So, trip block, I don't know. All right, this has been my position on Blake. And I'm very fortunate. Once again, it's rare that this happens. And go back to the Madhouse fire thing. You could see what happened during the stream then. And here we are now. Okay. So earlier this week, I don't do a whole lot of like insider source paywall kind of stuff. It's just not what I do, but I did a report and we brought up Memphis when that wasn't really out and brought up the Tulane job. Okay. And the position I have stayed with is that Blake Baker is truly torn. And this is why I have said, just be patient on this. Like, he is seriously torn over this. And now Football Scoop is reporting the same thing. Okay. Now, I did put in the Discord earlier today. I would say it's 80 to 85% chance that he's going to Tulane. But now, I'm feeling a lot better now that this is drawn out. Okay. I'm feeling a lot better. Penn State is keeping Terry Smith to go along with Matt Campbell. Very interesting. God, I love college football so much, dude. I really do. I really, really, really do. And we do have conference championship games going on right now. What am I to be live when there's actual football on? I actually love being live when there's actual football. Boise State up 13-0, Tulane 7-7 with North Texas. James Madison 17-14, and Kennesaw State 7-0 over Jacksonville State. That's a rematch from a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. Once again, I'm just oh, Chance, is that real? Spirit Ben thinks Frank Wilson's going to go to the SIP. Did he really report that? Sheesh. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to last. Yeah, TMB, he already makes that, though. He makes more than that. Quit contributing to your NIL too. You know I love you, legendary CEO. But yeah, I don't know what Frank Wilson's going to do. I would say though, I do think Ole Miss would love anything to stick it to Lane. Okay, but the thing is, does Frank really want to do that? Does Frank really want to do that? We are $20 away from the hundo, and anytime we get out to a hundo in supers, we give out a card. So we'll give out this Jaden Daniels Sage rookie from his Arizona State days. We'll get that out if we get to a hundo. Let's go to Tiger Deal. Plus, he's going to win the portal, so Lane totally had an amazing class. Yeah, dude, I cannot wait for that portal class. There you go. So Legendary CEO, I'm going to let Legendary CEO get first dibs on the Jaden card. If you want it, let me know. If you want me to give it to somebody else, once again, I'm in a given mood. I'm in a great mood tonight. So ready for the World Cup this summer. We got to do PHL live from the World Cup. All right, see y'all. I was going to let the next commenter get it. So Pegasus, if you want it, Pegasus hadn't missed a live stream in forever. If not, I'll pass it forward to the next commenter. Excited for the World Cup, though. Excited for tomorrow, too. College football slate. Won't be able to watch a good bit. I got to call some college basketball games tomorrow. It's nothing like doing play-by-play. My goal is to do some play-by-play for college football next year. Or color. Who do I have winning the World Cup? All right, Pegasus says we're going to pass it on. All right, who's the next commenter? Murphy J. It's yours. Congratulations, bud. Send me an email, powerhourlsu@gmail.com, and I'll get it out. I just remembered, though, I got to go to the store and get more shipping supplies. Which means I got to get up and go do that, which sucks. Oh, it sucks. Ba-da-ba-ba-bow. Is Tulane out on ESPN? Okay, there we go. Tandy Kane, we'll do more giveaways. Oh, dude, these Tulane uniforms just make you feel some type of way. I saw the Tulane sideline reporter. Maddie Hudek. Okay. These are the coolest pair of Nikes I have ever seen. I'm dead serious. Tulane's color scheme, so good, dude. Look at those Nikes. That is insane. The Air Force green with the gray trim. Everything with their uniforms is just so insane, dude. Why would I answer someone with the name Diego? I don't think he's going there. I think they're going to keep their O-line coach. Even though their O-line coach Mateos has been at LSU and he's not that bad. Arkansas's offensive line was really good this year. Could you know you're a new viewer if you don't know my favorite club, bro. Come on now. Pegasus, let him know. That is sacrilege if you don't. I'll tell you. You want to know I'm not fronting. It's right there, boy. Love them with all of my heart, man. Even though it's a down year. It was nice to see Florian Wirtz finally score. Crazy. Would Tulane beat LSU? Yeah, right now. Murphy, I was going to send you the card, and then you take a shot like that at me? Oh, come on now, Murphy. You can't take a shot like that. If you would have said a Liverpool fan, I probably could have handled that. I was going to send you the card, but you can come after me with the talk about soccer like that. All right, who wants the card? I was going to go to Murphy, but dude, you can't question my manhood like that. I did make those Marcus Freeman comments earlier, though. Nick LSU Sports says, "Get me some Sam Pittman as our offensive line coach." So I've met Sam before. I cover Arkansas really closely. Sam's got a lot of money. He's got a pretty dope-ass lake house in Hot Springs. He is not going anywhere, but hanging out, drinking some cold ones. Oh, no, shit. Just when I thought this week was flawless. Dude, the game is gone, bro. The game is so far gone. I cannot believe it. I thought I had good vibes with you. I really thought. I have no problem. Ask anyone. I know you're new to the channel. Ask anyone. I don't mind if Alabama fans are in here. I don't mind Florida. You really? City? What kind of Jesus front-running Christ soccer God do you worship? City? City in 2025? The highest bandwagon fan per capita club on the planet? City? God. Makes me want to drink rum. I like that your profile photo says rum and your name is Rum Rum. City fans drink something else that rhymes with that. Nonstop. Hate them. Hate them. Hate them. Hate them with every fiber of my being. I freaking hate City. Hate them. Hate them. Just you worse. The worst. Oh, Guerrero, get the hell out of here with that shit. I mean, my God. I just cannot believe that people really in the year 2025 want to support Man City. Just absolutely crazy club to support. But we move on. We move on. All right. City, dude. City. Just the worst. But anyway, I will say, I do love Pep Guardiola. As crazy as that is. And I don't hate their players. It's just a thing. I don't know why I hate City so much. I don't know what it is. It could just be that Liverpool was the best second-place team of all time in club football history. Could be that. But it's all love. It's all love. Cajun. It's all love. True story, though. Pep Guardiola allowed me to watch a Barcelona practice. I always say that at the end because it was the best moment of my career. But this channel is not about me. It's about LSU football. Even though it is my channel. Okay. We continue. I always hate it when we have diehard fans join the channel. And I've seen you in here quite a bit, Cajun. Cajun's a patron, too. But I always go on my City rant, dude. I always got to get one. It's my favorite rant. Any rant in PHL history, and I would never do the rant early in the show because this is an LSU football channel, but City, dude. It's all love. It's all love. Ha, 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 ha. But yeah, we don't know with Blake Baker. We just don't know. You just don't know. Sometimes with recruiting, it's or just whether it's recruit trying to decide where he's going to go, or whether it's a coach trying to decide where he's going to go. He's torn. He's really torn. I think Michigan State's going to be interesting. So they got a $401 million donation from Greg Williams, the founder and CEO of Acrisure. I don't even know what that is. Chance knows everything. Tell me what that is. Acrisure. I have no idea. Okay. Acrisure. I'm just refreshing Twitter like the rest of you for the Blake Baker thing. It's also one of those things where if you're Blake, you're like, do I really want to, or if you're Blake's agent, do I really want to make this decision while Tulane's playing a game? The optics of that might be off, if you will. Like, hey, you're playing for the conference championship. Now it's make it about me. What is Acrisure? What is Acrisure? ACRISURE. What kind of business is that? I'm too lazy to Google something like that. It's kind of crazy that the BYU transfer happens and Reslaf goes to Tulane, balls out, and BYU's going to the playoff with a true freshman. Look at that throw by Reslaf in the rain, too. It looks like it's drizzling. It's crazy. Finance tech company? Crazy. Oh, insurance? Could be both. I'm just waiting for this Blake Baker tweet. I don't know. I'm leaning towards this happening tomorrow. I will be sad if he leaves. Let's see. Wait, Kentucky basketball's melting down? Oh, baby, there's nothing better than when a blue blood's melting down. I do trust the Lane train, baby. I'm going down with the ship or the caboose, whatever, car. Which is kind of crazy, right? Like, we drive cars on roads, but a train couldn't come up with a different name for its sections other than car. That'd be confusing. Imagine if you're an alien and you didn't know anything about the roads. And by the way, I've been seeing that the extraterrestrial stuff's about to come out. I'm serious. Saw my goat Colin Cowherd talk about that. My two goats, Colin Cowherd and Bill Simmons. Those are my two goats in sports media. Nationally, and Stuart Scott, who is no longer with us. But why are train cars called cars? And they got a really cool name for the final car, which is a caboose. When cars are on the road, imagine if you're an alien, like, hey, where do you drive your car? Oh, on tracks. You're in for a rude awakening instead of the road. But Hal makes a good point. Trains were around before cars. Sourdough, good to see you. Jamie? Wait, Jamie, were you really at that game last night? I saw you post a photo from that. That's crazy. But that is always wild to me. It is so wild to me. You stand and salute where I hear Stuart Scott's name. Well, I'll take that. I'll take your comment back. So Murphy, if you want this, it's yours. Just email me, powerhourlsu@gmail.com. Well, yeah, sure enough, sure. Sure enough, I'm coming up. We're gonna throw down, man. And okay, baby. All right. Now, I want to say something, going back to the beginning, because we do have a bunch of new viewers coming in, ironically. Tulane here, 4th and 2. Do you kick the field goal? Yeah, you do. If you have a field goal kicker, it's 22 of 24. I think you do kick it. Even though it is raining, 5:50 left to go. It's a chip shot, get a 2-possession lead. I can understand going for it as well. Kick is up, and it is good. So Lane deserves credit for this the same way Brian Kelly deserves credit for the 2022 class. So much of the success of the Brian Kelly era was the 2022 recruiting class, his first class that he himself did not recruit. And Lane deserves credit for getting some of these signatures across, like here, this finish line. But, a lot of this was the previous staff. And I think it's fair to acknowledge that. And I should have done a better job of acknowledging that at the beginning. Okay. So now it's what you do next that counts. Yeah, Stein's going to call the plays. Yeah, Stein will definitely call his shots. But I don't know. All right, in the next 10 to 15, we're going to answer as many as we possibly can. If you super chat, we'll keep the party moving. Yeah, I'm not getting anything on old Blake. Let's go to LSU sports. Random baseball thoughts. LSU baseball needs to make a rule when renewing season tickets. If you do not turn a ticket in or get it scanned there, it's a small extra fee to renew next year. Show enough, thank you for the super. I appreciate it. Yeah, okay. I don't know if I can get there with that. I do think, though, you could seriously consider doing that for LSU football. All right. One of the craziest things, actually, I'll keep that opinion to myself about that. But LSU football could seriously implement something where, hey, if we don't scan your face walking in, we're going to give these season tickets to somebody else. Okay. And what that can do, obviously, is, churn through more season ticket holders, get people that really don't want them and just sell them. It could get them off lists and open up opportunities for new people to, go to games and stuff like that. And that's actually how they do it in England. In England, there is no ticket master. There's none of that. It's a lot different. And there are sites like that. It's just, you can't just freely just send it. At least that was my experience. But I don't know enough about LSU baseball as far as the ticketing is concerned, to really say, hey, LSU season tickets for baseball is a big problem for scalping and all of that. I don't know. So you tell me, Nick. Oh, my mom's calling. Hey, Mom, you're live on PHL. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'll call you back later.
Oh, okay. I love you. Dang. She wasn't happy. She was not happy. It was urgent. It was urgent. My dog. It's my other dog. It was be urgent, so I got to get off this. I don't know if I forgot to do something. I don't know. Normally it's Haley mad at me. First down, North Texas. Yeah, I'm in trouble with the wife. That's a different thing. But trouble with the mom? Oh. I actually think I'm in trouble with both. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. Yeah, Corey, I don't know if he is or not, if we're being honest. I think actually I enjoyed watching his offensive line tape better than his defensive line tape. But I do need to watch now that he went into this season with more of a focus on defensive line. There you go. Thank you for a super. I appreciate it. And Tulane's not playing around tonight. Let's go, Green Wave. I also thought that Tulane might have been I know the point spread was close, but I think the Green Wave were a slight favorite. They were. No, I mean, they're slight dogs. There, you're old on the laptop. Well, do I need to send it back to you? Show notes says the defense makes some money. Well, do they? I mean, offensive tackles make big money too. And unless you're a pass rusher, there you go, 8-year-old.
Hey, girl, you live streaming?
Yeah, we're live. You want to come on?
Nope, I'm cleaning. I'm about to get your laundry done because it never ends. If anybody ever wants to know what I do while he's on there, all his laundry.
Told you. Both of them mad. That is true. Roy Kramer died today, former SEC commish. He was a commish when Saban won the Natty. And then it was Slive, and now we're with Sankey. Roy Kramer. How about that, man? Could you imagine Roy, like, watching the SEC turn into what it is now? There's no way he thought it would become what it is today. No way. It's insane. It really is. Oh, Edna Carr's playing Catholic tonight. Also have Washita versus Neville. Rustin and Zachary. LCA and Dunham. 27-27. How about that? So cool. Walker Howard was hurt. BZ year class of 2019. Let's go. Crazy. I will take a few more here. Friday night streams, dude, they're getting weird. Not leaving yet, CEO. It is interesting, Sourdough. Like, the stars aligned perfectly for Walker Howard this year to return to Baton Rouge with Lane coming. Obviously, Walker knows the offense better than any quarterback that we have, knowing that he spent that time at Ole Miss. I hadn't really even thought about this yet, that Walker, this would be the perfect scenario for him to come in. But there's a personal life stuff where Walker Howard dated a Kiffin, and it didn't work out. Now, I hate that. You slept with your brother's husband. Well, I don't know. Whichever way that works out for you, I'll wish you the best, man. Jamie was at the LSU Duke game. Congratulations. Well, Walker Howard just needs to be somewhere where he can play. And he was there. It just couldn't happen. All right. I do want to talk about Ohio State. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow, Vasha? I do want to talk about something with Lane, and it is kind of serious. So today, there was a situation at Penn State where before they hired Matt Campbell, there was this 30-minute leaked audio with the athletic director, and it wasn't good. It was not good. Okay, but something else I found interesting about it was there have been plenty of coaches and athletic directors that have been recorded, their audio leaked. Obviously, most famously, it was Ed Orgeron with the Roll Tide What FU, and also happened with Lane. There was a situation a few years ago, and it's kind of a double-edged sword where, let me see. You're always going to need to be known you're recorded. And it's just how things are now. Like every last little thing out there is recorded. Every last thing. And God, that was crazy in that North Texas game. Tulane, a punt landed right on the North Texas player. And that's a clear Peter call. You got to look up, see where the ball is. Your gunner's got to know that. Also very lucky for Tulane. But you always have to know you're being recorded. All right. It's just
It's like a crop circle in here.
it's just how it is.
What is how it is?
That my dog loves me more than she loves you.
She loves me. She doesn't love me. Sorry. Right, Mama? You love your mama. Because I'm the best there ever was.
Ronnie, yeah, he's truly incredible.
Where did all this come from? Is this dirty water?
No, that's stuff I'm taking with me.
Say it again?
I'm wearing that tomorrow.
Then why is it folded up over here wrinkled?
I don't know.
Who did that?
It wasn't me.
Bullshit.
It was a boogeyman.
Huh?
It was a boogeyman.
You are the messiest human. I wish people could see this room. Are you wearing these khakis tomorrow?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
khakis or black pants?
I wear khakis tomorrow.
Okay.
I feel like I'm the guy in the State Farm commercial. And what are you wearing? I'm wearing khakis. But it is crazy how, and I don't know if, like, at any point you could be getting recorded doing anything. We're in a surveillance state. But it also, like, I understand being a college football head coach is great. It's lucrative. You get the fame. But man, dude, college coaches, it used to be so much wilder, right? Like, and honestly, if things can remain a secret, it'll remain a secret, especially if you win or lose. But now everything is just being recorded.
What? Oh, you wanted your bone. Okay, girl. I got you.
It's nuts, dude. All right, y'all. That'll do it for me. Big thanks to all our supers. A wild Friday nighter. The Lane train is here. Shane joined memberships. Ricky. S. Young holding it down. Sibley. Jack K coming in hot. Bayou. Dwight. Santi. Sainty. Baker. Dwight. Legacy. Show enough. Once again, I'll be traveling for a funeral on Sunday. I don't know if we're going to do our normal college football playoff reaction show. Probably won't be able to. And we'll talk to you soon. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Big thanks to all our partners. Labor Therapy. LaborTherapy.com. Our friends at Fortified Gulf Coast and FortifiedGulf.com. Fast Draft Fantasy, Zion Imaging, and the 360 Spin Booth Experience. And tonight, we are doing, actually, I don't know what we're doing. Probably some eggs and bacon. Let's go. Let's go.